Hello, everyone. It's Friday, December the 18th. We're a little late getting started. We tried to update people and everything as far as what was going on and everything. You can imagine there's just lots and lots and lots going on. We're trying to, as best we possibly can, we're trying to get you all the information that we can get you, and we know that now we're going to go over the weekend and everything, and so we've delayed just a little while in trying to get you a complete information that you've asked for, we promised, and plus all the stuff that's going on all across our nation, you know, as it continues to flow out. Like I said, a really fluid situation. We're trying to pivot and adapt to it and tweak and do all the different things that we have to do along the way to make it all come together, and I think you'll be pleased, at least, you know, in some aspects. I regretfully have to tell you we've lost another 52 great West Virginians. Our total death toll now is 1,091. Out of all respect that I could possibly give these people, I'm going to read through them, and I'll go as quickly as I can, but at the same time, I don't want to go quickly. I want to be respectful and do the right thing. Our 140th death in West Virginia is a 98-year-old female from Barber County. Our 141st death, a 78-year-old male from Barber County. Our 142nd death, an 81-year-old male from Mon County. Our 143rd death, a 92-year-old female from Brooke County. Get this now. Our 144th death, and bless her heart, a 105-year-old female from Jefferson County. It's just unbelievable. What a life. Our 145th death, a 57-year-old female from Ohio County. Our 146th death, a 70-year-old female from Marshall County. Oh, I'm sorry. Good Lord. I'm reading, you know, and saying our 140th and our 141st. Oh, man. It's just hard to fathom these totals. I'm going to start all over. And the reason I'm going to start all over is we've lost 1,040th death. It's not the 140th death, so forgive me. We've lost 1,091 people in West Virginia now. Our 1,040th death is an 88-year-old female from Barber County. Our 1,041st death, a 78-year-old male from Barber County. Our 1,042nd death, an 81-year-old male from Monongahela County. Our 1,043rd death, a 92-year-old female from Brooke County. Our 1,044th death, a 101-year-old female from Jefferson County. Our 1,045th death, a 57-year-old female from Ohio County. Our 1,046th death, a 70-year-old female from Marshall County. Our 1,047th death, an 84-year-old male from Boone County. Our 1,048th death, a 92-year-old female from Ohio County. Our 1,049th death, an 85-year-old male from Preston County. Our 1,050th death, an 89-year-old female from Marshall County. Our 1,051st death, another 100-year-old female from Boone County. Our 1,052nd death, a 74-year-old female from Wood County. Our 1,053rd death, a 92-year-old female from Brooke County. Our 1,054th death is an 81-year-old male from Brooke County. Our 1,055th death is an 80-year-old male from Marshall County. Our 1,056th death is a 75-year-old female from Hardy County. Our 1,057th death is a 76-year-old male from Mercer County. Our 1,058th death is a 71-year-old male from Lewis County. Our 1,059th death is an 85-year-old female from Preston County. Our 1,060th death is a 92-year-old female from Brooke County. Our 1,061st death is a 76-year-old male from Mercer County. Our 1,062nd death is a 59-year-old female from Harrison County. Our 1,063rd death is a 66-year-old female from Wood County. Our 1,064th death is a 61-year-old male from Wood County. Our 1,065th death is a 76-year-old male from Tucker County. Our 1,066th death is a 60-year-old female from Barber County. Our 1,067th death is a 93-year-old female from Kanawha County. Our 1,068th death is a 74-year-old male from Monongahela County. Our 1,069th death is a 90-year-old female from Raleigh County. Our 1,070th death is an 83-year-old female from Raleigh County. Our 1,071st death is an 81-year-old male from Raleigh County. Our 1,072nd death is a 60-year-old female from Barber County. Our 1,073rd death is a 74-year-old female from Monroe County. Our 1,074th death is an 83-year-old male from Berkeley County. Our 1,075th death is a 77-year-old male from Raleigh County. Our 1,076th death is a 77-year-old female from Wyoming County. Our 1,077th death is a Christmas. Whoo-wee. A 17-year-old male from Kanawha County. 17 years old. Our 1,078th death, a 64-year-old female from Kanawha County. Our 1,079th death, a 58-year-old male from Kanawha County. Our 1,080th death, a 46-year-old female from Mineral County. Our 1,081st death, an 85-year-old male from Mineral County. Our 1,082nd death, a 78-year-old male from McDowell County. Our 1,083rd death, an 86-year-old female from Wood County. Our 1,084th death, a 65-year-old female from Wood County. Our 1,085th death, a 78-year-old female from Berkeley County. Our 1,086th death, a 78-year-old male from Hancock County. Our 1,087th death is an 80-year-old male from Cabell County. Our 1,088th death is a 67-year-old female from Mingo County. Our 1,089th death, a 61-year-old male from Grant County. Our 1,090th death is a 95-year-old female from Wyoming County. And our 1,091st death in West Virginia is an 84-year-old female from Wood County. Please forgive me for starting out and reading 100 instead of 1,000. Tough stuff. While we hate like crazy that 105 and 100-year-old, beautiful people, that their life is snuffed out by this terrible killer, what an incredible celebration we should have for all the years of their life. And we should absolutely just embrace in prayer and tears over losing a 17-year-old, as well as our 100-plus-year-olds and all those that I've read today, and all those that we've lost in West Virginia. Remember them in your prayers. Your prayers will be heard. From the standpoint of our numbers, in the last 24 hours, we had 1,266 new positives. Our daily, our positivity rate daily is at 7.28. In the last 24 hours, our cumulative continues to rise, but we're at 4.27. We have 22,000 active cases and 46,000 plus that have recovered. We have 753 in the hospital and 193 in the ICU units, and yesterday we tested over 12,000 West Virginians. Our RT number is at 1.13. We are now the 5th worst in the entire country. We have 47 of our total counties in red or orange now. I keep going back over and over and over. If you'll just look at the stats, if you're at age greater than 65%, overwhelming, or 65 years of age, overwhelmingly, those are the people that this virus is attacking. And if you don't, if you don't wear your mask, if you don't do the things that I know that you have got to do until you can get vaccinated and then be vaccinated, you have an incredible good chance of getting this. And if you get it, you're in real trouble. One thing that just happened that's going across the news wires all across our nation again. West Virginia is shining in a lot of different ways, and we're doing stuff that others are fumbling the ball around and everything. And with the great help of our health community, DHHR, and especially the National Guard, we're on top of this, and we're administering our vaccines, and we're getting it done. And again, the states all across our nation are sitting around trying to come up with a plan. And we're not coming up with a plan, we're doing it. We're just flat doing it. You know, the Sundale nursing home in Morgantown was one of the first major outbreaks in the state of West Virginia last March. Jiminy, time just goes, doesn't it? 9 months later, now, Sundale was one of the first facilities in this nation to receive doses of the vaccine. Today, we're going to hear from one of those residents that was at Sundale that's received her vaccine, and I want to introduce two people here. I want to introduce first and foremost Miss Pat John, and she's a 93-year-old resident of Sundale, and she's with us today, as well as joining her Michael Hicks, the administrator of Sundale, and Dr. Carl Schrader, the medical director. So I'm going to turn the stage over to you guys, and Pat, we love you to death, and so happy for you, and happy you're with us today.
Happy to be here too.
Well,
Go ahead and talk to us, Pat.
I'm very happy to be here this morning, and I just wanted to tell everyone to please, after all of the expenses that they have taken to get us all a vaccination, do not hesitate. It doesn't hurt, and it happens immediately. Please don't wait.
Good job.
Okay?
Dr. Schrader, do we have anything?
No, I just want to extend our thank you to the governor and the leadership team for all you've done for us from March through today. I mean, truly, we've never been alone. You've been with us every step of the way. And Governor, to really push us to the front and be one of the states to administer first, and with a focus on the long-term care facilities. I couldn't think of a better way to end the year and head into the holiday season. So our sincerest thank you to all of you.
Absolutely. I'd like to echo that as well. We had our vaccination clinic on Tuesday, and as fate would have it, there were some extra doses in the Morgantown area, and they were able to be redirected here. So we actually have a vaccination clinic going on. We're in our second floor lounge, and if you hear folks in a little commotion in here, that's what it is. We actually have some people being vaccinated, and this is our clinic. Set up. Actually, one of the things that we were able to do, we didn't want to miss the opportunity, or we did not want to lose any of the vaccines that we had available. So I reached out to our board members as well. We've now vaccinated over 80%. I think it's close to 85% of the residents that we have here at Sundale. So I'm so thankful that we were able to be in the first week. And Governor, I thank you for all of your efforts in moving forward. Had we gone with the federal plan, I'm assuming the 21st is when those would be beginning. And we've already vaccinated a tremendous number of West Virginians in the state. So kudos to you. Thank you ever so much. General Warrior, I can't thank you enough for the guards' activity. Yeah,
Listen, guys, Michael, Pat, Dr. Schrader, the work you've done is phenomenal. That's all there is to it. But I love it so much when West Virginia rubs it right in the rest of the nation's face to just how good we really are. So the kudos go out to all those that are making this happen. The rest of our states all across our union are sitting around trying to get a plan to where they can start on the 21st of December, and you guys are already making it happen in every way. So I love it to death and everything when West Virginia shines across this nation and everything, because I believe that I'm only here. Well, I really believe with all in me, I'm here because God put me in this position. But I truly believe that the only reason I'm really here is because I absolutely believe in West Virginia beyond good sense. I love West Virginia, I love its people, and it's great when we can see that we lead the U.S. again. So that's really great stuff. So just keep doing the great work, and Pat, we'll have to see you. Now you've got at least probably 12 years from the standpoint to go, and on your 105th birthday, I want to be there, and in some way, somehow, we're gonna have a giant celebration.
2021 will be a great year for everyone.
amen.
That's great stuff. Great stuff. Way to go, Pat. Way to go, guys. Way to go. Let me take a little time here and go through this as fast as I can, but you know that I received the vaccine on Monday. I feel great, and there's no effects whatsoever. I encourage everybody, just like Pat, just like everybody here, to please take your vaccine, when it becomes available and everything. It's safe. It's as safe as we can possibly know that things are. I mean, who knows? We could get hit by a meteorite day after tomorrow standing out in our yard, but really and truly, this is safe, so please take it. As of 11 o'clock today, we have distributed 15,800 vaccines. There have been almost or over 11,000 of those vaccines that have been given. We're ordering more vaccines today. There's 11,700 doses of the Pfizer vaccine. It'll be coming in addition. And then we'll be looking for Moderna, and Moderna will be piling in a whole bunch more. And then Pfizer will just keep going and everything. We're expecting an allocation of Moderna product of 32,600 to be delivered shortly after the FDA has already authorized, and they have. We will soon, from the standpoint of the Pfizer vaccine, and I want to make sure I got this right, and the general can probably add a whole lot more to this and everything, but we were supposed to have, I think, 21,000 or whatever, and they cut us back, they cut everybody back all across the country and everything. They had some hiccup. I don't know really what it was and everything. Hiccups aren't really permissible when people are dying in my world, and but it just goes to show you that, things are continuously happening and everything. I'm sure Pfizer will catch up. I haven't been real happy about this, and I will be I've already been directly engaged with General Hoyer and Dr. Marsh to keep pushing this, but I can tell you, as soon as I heard this, I was on the phone with the powers to be in the federal government saying, what in the world are we doing and what's going on here and everything. We'll just stay on top of that in every way. It just came out, it's all across the news, but West Virginia is leading the nation in distributing COVID vaccines to our nursing homes and assisted living. We were the first state in the country to require nursing homes and assisted living to test 100% of their residents. That was back a while. And I want to badly be the first in the country to get all of our nursing homes and our staff, and as well as our assisted living, tested. West Virginia completely tested. West Virginia took a slightly different plan than the rest of the country. I told my team I wanted long-term care residents and staff prioritized and wanted the first doses completed within the first 30 days. The federal government had a national plan to distribute to long-term care facilities, but it didn't start until December the 28th. That just isn't going to cut it in West Virginia. That's just all there is to it. So we put a plan in place that relies upon the greatest resource, our fellow West Virginians, to take care of one another, and to help distribute the vaccine through expanded use of our local pharmacies. So we just jumped in. Instead of going to a chain, we jumped into all of our pharmacies and just jumped right in immediately. And based on the current plan and projections, we will be done in a little over 2 weeks from when the first shipment arrived in West Virginia. Quite literally, we may be finishing our vaccination to long-term care facilities before some states even start. I'm telling you, I love it. I love it. As of yesterday evening, we had vaccinated approximately 5,450 individuals in 42 facilities. By Saturday morning, we will have completed giving out around 8,000 doses to more than 50 facilities. We are seeing approximately 85 to 90% of the residents that are taking the vaccine, and approximately 60% of the staff. We got to get the staff way higher than that. General Hoyer will provide you an update on the 2-week plan, and I will remind you all that getting the vaccines out to West Virginia is not a step-by-step process. We need to get the vaccines out to West Virginia on a plan that initiates and moves with light speed. We built this plan in order to offer vaccination to as much of our critical workforce as possible in an equitable way and as quickly as we possibly can pull it off. Okay. You know about getting tested. I still encourage in every way, go get tested. The free map is up on the website and everything of where we're going to be and where we're going to be testing. I remind you about the drive-through testing and how we can go about doing that. Our school outbreaks still great. We have 14 active outbreaks, 79 confirmed cases in the public schools. That's still really, really good. The long-term care facility outbreaks, 114. That's about where it's been hanging. The church outbreaks are at 15 in 14 counties. That's Braxton, Greenbrier, Harrison, Jackson, Lewis, Marion, Mineral, Mingo, Monongahela, Nicholas, Raleigh, Summers, Webster, and Wyoming counties. Again, I tell you over and over and over every day, if you get tired of hearing me say it, well, you're just going to get tired. You better turn the volume down because you're just going to get tired of hearing me say it. If you elect to go to church, and if you're over 65 years of age, to be perfectly honest, with the vaccine right at your doorstep, I'd get my services at home. That's all there is to it. I'd get my groceries brought to me. I would absolutely try to avoid people in every way, and for God's sakes, a living, I'd wear my mask. Now, let me tell you just this, and I forgot this and everything, and I wanted to show you this. I'll show it to you on Monday. But at 6:57 this morning on Fox, Governor Chris Christie, he's a big guy. He's from New Jersey, and he was a former governor in New Jersey, and he's the president's real right-hand guy, smart guy, and was advising the president in a lot of ways. To be perfectly honest, he was walking around up there in the west wing of the White House in different places and probably didn't have his mask on or wasn't wearing his mask to the extent that he should have. Boom. He ends up in the hospital. He ends up with COVID. For 7 days, he's fearing for his life. He can't get his breath. And he was on with a public service commercial. This was a commercial. This wasn't an interview. This was a commercial with Chris Christie saying, boy, I really screwed up. America, I screwed up. I should have been wearing my mask. America, I screwed up. Really and truly, I almost died. But when I was lying there in that hospital for 7 days, I thought to myself, how dumb could I have been? I screwed up, America. And I want to show you that, and I forgot it, but I'll show it to you on this coming Monday. We got to wear a mask. For crying out loud, we're close to the finish line here. Okay, our corrections update, we are down now to 112 active inmate cases. We're down from 254. You know, we started the week at nearly 360. We're down to 112. You know, we have at a regional jail, our Northern Regional Jail, where there are 2 inmate cases. At Northern Correctional Facility, there are no inmate cases. We had over 280 at the beginning of the week. Currently, there are 50 inmate cases at the Eastern Regional Jail, 26 inmate cases at Central Regional Jail, 25 inmate cases at St. Mary's, and Corrections, once again, does exactly what they've done and done amazingly. You know, I think 5 deaths in all of Corrections, you know, and just to really tell it like it is, an amazing job. So keep it up. You're doing a great job all the way through, all the great people that work for our corrections. Okay, I tell you about our mask. I just told you again. I tell you get your flu shot. I tell you about giving blood. Please do that. Please do that. The Red Cross needs you really badly. I think I read that we had 46,000 people that were recovered, or 46,000 and, you know, plus and everything. All those people need to really consider giving blood, because you may really have antibodies that can save a lot of people's lives. Before I go any further, let me just say this one more time. And I'm not going to forget anything. I'm going to get this right. If you're 65 years, everything should be centered around one thing right now: age. The second cut of this thing is if you're 65 years of age and you get what I would say is a sniffle, a headache, whatever you get, for crying out loud, get somebody, get up, get somebody and go get a test. If you want to live, you better listen to me. You can sit around and say, oh, it's just a cold, and be hard-headed and everything. You can do that. But at the end of the day, if you've got COVID and we can catch it in the first few days, we'll give you drugs that will absolutely make you well. We gave them to the President of the United States. We gave them to Rudy Giuliani. I mean, absolutely, they'll make you well. Now, if you sit home and say, well, I'm just going to wait a few days and see how I feel, you know, I would highly recommend, as morbid as it may sound, if in fact you do end up with COVID, a whole bunch of you will die. Please go get tested. And the last thing is, we need, and you'll hear about it when I go through the revenue stuff here in just a few minutes with the revenue, you know, secretary and everything, but really what we need is we need to hold back some dollars here, because we're going to be aggressively testing all those that are 18 to 35 years of age, because we know now that really we know who's dying, we know who should go get a test, and we know who the spreaders are, and the spreaders are all over the place. Now, I want to just do this because our people are so ingenious, they had no idea that I was going to say it. They've got the Chris Christie ad. I want to put it up, and I want every last one of you that are sitting out there, and for whatever the reason may be, whether it just be, whether you're hard-headed or you believe that we're going to take your guns because that's the liberty going, one of our liberties to be able to walk around and not wear a mask. Well, it's not a liberty, really and truly, because you can affect others. It's not a liberty to be able to drive your car drunk. It's not a liberty. For crying out loud, we're close to this vaccine. Come on, just help us. But we're going to show the Chris Christie thing right now.
This message isn't for everyone. It's for all those people who refuse to wear a mask. Lying in isolation in ICU for 7 days, I thought about how wrong I was to remove my mask at the White House. Today, I think about how wrong it is to let mask wearing divide us, especially as we now know You're twice as likely to get COVID-19 if you don't wear a mask. Because if you don't do the right thing, we could all end up on the wrong side of history. Please wear a mask. This message isn't for everyone. It's for all those people who
I don't know how to say it any better. I don't know how to say it any better. You got to help us. You got to really help us stop this thing. Okay, a little bit of good news, real quick. You know, I said the other day about, Steve McDaniel with our DNR and everything. He's going to be stocking 30,000 trout next week all across West Virginia, and you can go on the website and see where they're going to be stocking and everything. They won't tell you the day they're going to be there, but the streams are going to be stocking and everything. And I urge you all to get out. I mean, for crying out loud, I know it's winter time, but those streams are full of water now and everything, and really, really good stuff. And so with all that being said, the DNR continues to do all kinds of great things. I mean, we've changed a bunch of stuff in West Virginia. One of the things we changed is we just didn't roll up with the stock truck and throw all the fish in one hole of water and have 50 people standing around one hole of water. We want people to experience our streams and everything. So we came up with a way for people, to hire some additional people and put them behind these trucks and run and actually stock the stream to where you could go back for days and days and days and still really enjoy a real fishing experience. The other thing we did is we moved to do some weekend stockings, and we do that and now we're doing something else, that really takes us off in a great way and everything. And so now what we're doing in addition to that is we're stocking some fish in the middle of the winter, really in the month of December. And we're able to do that simply because of one thing. We have too many fish. We're getting better and better and better at what we do, and we've even got too many fish. And so it's absolutely just wonderful. So get out, enjoy those streams, and enjoy catching some really wonderful trout over the Christmas holidays. And if you're fortunate enough to be able to have a little turkey and ham, a really nice trout would be good too. And so I want to tell you something else good that we've got going on. Through all this, we've really been monitoring. We've been monitoring really closely the dollars that we have and the dollars. All of our schools are out there, and a lot of our schools, athletic departments, and I'm a coach and I can really identify with this, but all of our schools' athletic departments have been impacted phenomenally bad from what's happened with COVID. And they're all in danger of just a terrible situation from the standpoint. You can't have enough selling of donuts or pizzas or whatever it may be to raise enough money to replace the attendance and the concessions and everything that's gone on throughout the year that we haven't been able to do. And so today, with the work of the Department of Ed and Clayton Birch, as well as through our office here, we're both going to throw in $2 million apiece. That's $4 million. It's going to go to the athletic funds of all of our schools across our states. And beyond sports, this includes band, choir, and student organizations such as the Key Club and Junior Civitan, that organization, and that have not been able to host their traditional events and activities that have been really hurting them throughout the year. So this goes to a lot of different organizations and clubs and bands and all of our sporting activities, especially those in our what we would classify our minor sports. That whether it be cross country or it be golf or whatever it may be, at our schools, the big payers always are football and girls and boys basketball, but we've just not been able to do that, and so this ought to really go a long ways to helping our schools and our athletic departments, and we're really happy to be able to do that. Now, the last thing I got today is I promised you a breakdown on the CARES money, And I promised you that Dave Hardy would join us, and Dave's going to come in on Zoom. He's going to talk. I'll back it up behind it, but I have told you over and over and over, what's going on. And I think Brother Hardy will take over from here, and I hope you'll completely believe after Dave Hardy goes through exactly what I've been through with you over and over.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Governor. As you pointed out, way back a long time ago, this was late March, early April, we, of course, received by wire transfer $1.25 billion in CARES relief funds or coronavirus relief funds with a set of guidelines that followed thereafter. So that was our starting point. And our closing point, as was pointed out when the law was passed, and that is our closing point, is December 30th of this year. Under the current law, we are supposed to have expended all of our CARES funds by December 30th, or in the alternative, we can hold back a small amount for expenses that were incurred prior to December 30th. So December 30th is the red letter day, and I cannot explain to the public and to the people of West Virginia how much we appreciate your leadership during the last 10 months as we tried to navigate our way through this process and be sure that we maximize the recovery for the people of West Virginia. This was what I call not budget checkers, but budget chess, and that we had to be very careful in how we handled the funds. We met with you, Governor, along with our other revenue team members and members of the governor's office on average 3 times a week since early April. So this is all culminating today with what I will call our final plan for how to expend our $1.25 billion. And again, this is a process that's gone on a long time, and it wasn't done lightly. We used, of course, an outside law firm of Bailey Glasser, when we had legal issues, and we used, at the governor's suggestion, an outside accounting firm, and the name of the firm is BDO, and they have validated and reviewed every one of our proposed expenditures. Then those expenditures are ultimately sent to the auditor's office for a final review. So there's been a lot of checks and balances, and the governor insisted on that before we started this process. So that being said, let me explain where we are today with our expenses for the CARES Fund. We have a $30 million commitment, and that the lion's share of that has been spent. Almost all of that has already been spent for our small business grant program, and that was done through the small business grant portal. And I might add, all the businesses were asked to go through a vetting process to be sure that they were properly registered with the state of West Virginia and were current on their taxes before they could avail themselves of the grant program. And that program has resulted in a $30 million expenditure. The next expenditure is a $50 million medical access highways program. In consultation with Bird White and Chief Engineer Jimmy Riston at the Department of Highways, they went out and identified a specific set of highways that would impede access to medical treatment in West Virginia. And this was done carefully. It was documented. The highways were photographed. And then we sought a legal opinion from our outside law firm on whether that would be a permissible use of CARES money. We've done our due diligence. We've done our work. And we expect all those dollars to be expended on this medical access highway program in the next 2 weeks. And of course, that's a $50 million commitment to improvement of our highways for medical access in our state. The next program is the broadband program. There was a lot of issues about telelearning and telework, and we tried to identify in a very quick way where we could find some dollars and some immediate improvements to broadband throughout West Virginia to allow better access to telemedicine and to allow better access to education, online education for our secondary schools, as well as our higher education institutions. And that program has expended $32.3 million. Our next program was very challenging, and we started off thinking that we would need about $200 million, roughly $20 million a month, to provide relief for our cities and our counties. And we established a portal, and in consultation with the West Virginia Municipal League, the West Virginia Association of Counties, the West Virginia County Commissioners Association, we consulted with those groups, and a portal was built on the governor's website where the cities and counties could submit monthly their application for reimbursement of eligible expenses under the CARES Act. The program has been remarkably successful. And right now, the expenditure number is about $253 million, way beyond what we originally anticipated of $200 million. And we anticipate that we need another $12 million to get to the end of the year. So that program has directly reimbursed our cities and counties by the end of the year in about 12 days, a total of $265 million to help them pay for essential services to assist with the getting through the pandemic. The next number is the Fairmont Hospital. The decision was made upon the closure of the Fairmont Hospital in partnership with WVU that there was a need for more medical access in a community hospital in Fairmont. And in partnership with WVU, we were able to allocate $10 million to make that project a reality. The next expenditure is our public service districts. Due to the pandemic, a number of utility ratepayers have not been able to afford their monthly utility bills. And the public service districts asked for some assistance in consultation with the Public Service Commission, Chairman Charlotte Lane. And we were able to come up with a program that is CARES Act eligible, where we can reimburse the public service districts directly for many of the unpaid utility bills. These payments do not go directly to the consumer. They go to the public service districts to allow them to avoid millions of dollars of delinquent utility bills. And that program has expended $16.5 million. The next program has been one I think we're all very aware of, and that our National Guard has done just tremendous work from day one on testing, sanitation, getting out supplies, and every other aspect day to day of fighting the pandemic. And the governor's office has had the ability through the contingency fund to pay the National Guard immediately when they had those immediate needs. Many times we had to get equipment and PPE basically on 24 hours notice. And we have set up a reimbursement to the National Guard and other expenses directly related to fighting the pandemic of $40 million. The next expenditure is what we call here at the Department of Revenue, here at the Capitol, the deep dive. And what this simply means is this: from March 1 to December 30th, we are allowed to go back and review state expenses that are within the guidelines for reimbursement under the CARES Act. And some of the expenses are things like the Department of Corrections having additional expenses to keep the jails sanitized, additional overtime for our public safety officials, and so on and so forth. I could go on for hours, but what we've done, we've gone back, we've reviewed those expenses, and then we have been able to submit those for reimbursement under the CARES Act through our accounting firm. So our accounting firm has allowed us to approve those expenses and then given us the authority, if we want to, and they've approved them as CARES Act eligible, to reimburse the state of West Virginia. We did our first reimbursement in June. In June, we had $65 million of expenses at that time. We paid ourselves $57 million, and we used that to balance the budget so we could close the books for fiscal year 20 on June 30th. we have continued this program, and it's been a lot of hard work. Our DHHR folks, our corrections folks, our state police have all worked very hard on this project. And we've been able to book a total of $240 million of CARES Act eligible expenses. We've so far paid ourselves $57 million, but we are now able to, if we choose, to reimburse ourselves for $183 million of eligible CARES Act expenses. These are direct expenses approved by the accounting firm that we are paying the people of West Virginia back for the eligible expenses that the state itself has incurred. The big number, the one that it gives everyone sticker shock, but it's a very large number and it's a very important number, is our unemployment benefits. If you go back to March 1st, we had $160.4 million in our unemployment trust fund immediately before the pandemic started. That was on March 1st. Since that time, we have expended a total of $502.2 million in unemployment benefits. And I want to say that number again. Since March 1st through December the 15th, we have spent $502.2 million in unemployment benefits. That number was an opening balance of $160 million. We had a FEMA program that was a match program that the government provided, the federal government, of $38 million. And we had employer premiums that went into the trust fund of $173 million. And last but not least, starting July 1st, we were able to draw down, if we chose, and we did, an interest-free loan from the federal government to keep the fund solvent. So we've been paying a lot of our unemployment benefits with this interest-free loan since early July. And the current balance of the interest-free loan is projected by the end of the year to be $130 million. We have held back CARES money to pay back that loan if we need to do so. If we don't pay the loan back by December 31st, the federal government will charge us a 2.4% interest rate. So the plan now, of course, is to pay back the loan and reimburse the unemployment trust fund. And the governor has directed us to allocate a total of $445 million for unemployment benefits. That will allow us to retire the loan of $130 million and open calendar year 21, with a balance of $315 million in the trust fund. That is very important because we are projecting that we will still have a very large amount of unemployment benefits for January, February, and March in calendar year 21. So the governor has told us to do what it takes to try to keep the fund solvent and on target, and that's assuming no more federal money or no more federal loans. So we are proposing paying off the $130 million loan and a $315 million balance, opening balance in the unemployment trust fund, for a total of $445.7 million. The last number is the PPE and testing number. Now, there was a lot of testing done all summer, and there was a question at some point where everyone said, well, who's paying for the testing? So the governor asked us in the Department of Revenue to research who is paying for all this testing. And we thought we knew, but we needed to go back and look. PEIA has paid for a very large amount of testing. The Medicaid program has paid for testing, and private insurers have paid for testing. But about 75 to 80% of the testing that's being done in the state today is being paid for by DHHR, which is a West Virginia agency, of course. As we stand today, DHHR is projected to spend $74 million on testing to close out the year. So we have allocated that amount for testing to reimburse DHHR and to pay many of the vendors that we have invoices from DHHR. Again, the testing goes on. Right now, we're testing. Those projections show that we're projecting to test about 12,000 people a day. So the testing is, of course, not inexpensive. If you total all that up, you come out to $1,203.5 million, which gave us an initial cushion number of about $46.5 million. However, we have also approved a few small things. One, of course, is the extracurricular fund that the governor mentioned a few minutes ago to provide relief to the extracurricular activity funds across the state. That's about a $2 million expenditure. And then there are some miscellaneous expenditures that total out, probably 6-7 more million. So as we sit today, and these numbers do change quickly, our unencumbered number, our cushion, we call it, is about $39 million. So we have met the mission. The mission was to, as outlined by the governor, hold on to the dollars, commit what we have to commit, be sure that we keep up with the guidelines, and be sure that before we make any final decisions, there hasn't been additional money allocated or additional changes to the law or the guidelines. We've done all the above in consultation with the governor. And our plan, of course, is if the law does not change, is to expend almost all but $40 million of these funds by December 30th, as required by the law. The $40 million, of course, is a cushion, and I think we will have probably other sources for that as we get near the end. This is a miracle as far as I'm concerned. This was very difficult. We many times we told the governor, we don't have enough money, we can't pull this off. And he said, let me take you through this over and over. And we met with him over and over, and we researched and we worked hard. And we followed his lead all the way through. And I feel like today it's a miracle for West Virginia because we started off with a very difficult place. We had a pandemic. We had no idea what to allocate for these expenses. And we certainly didn't know how the disease was going to progress from March till December. But we're there, and we feel very confident in our plan and very confident in the governor's leadership with the plan. So that's all I have, Governor, unless you have anything else that you want to add.
No, Dave, I don't. I really appreciate you and all your staff, the Mark and Mike and Ann and just all the different people that have contributed in every way. Ann's in our office, I know, but she's contributed phenomenally. But the work you've done, I mean, kudos and kudos and kudos. Way to go! It's really, really great work, and so I hope that explains everything. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just touch real quickly one more time. I'm going to go through just really, really quick, but to say that, we had a bucket on our small businesses. We didn't have, near as many small businesses that applied. We ended up $30 million out on that, $50 million out on the medical access highways, $32 million and change out on broadband. The cities and the counties and the local government, that continued to expand up and up and up. We started 200 and 215, 225, 250, and now, we're going to come across the finish line there at 265. It's going out to our counties and our cities. That's great. That's great because we've been able to juggle and hold back enough dollars to be able to continue to fund all the way to the very last day and everything. So that's great. That really helps all of our counties and cities a bundle. Fairmont Hospital, we got $10 million that's gone there. WVU's done great work there, and that's an incredible asset for that community. From the standpoint of our public service things that we've done for people that were struggling, paying their power bills and their sewage bills and whatever, we were able to do that. That's $16.5 million. From the governor's contingency thing, we just continue to put money there and expend it as the National Guard calls upon us and everything, and that's just money in and money out that's going to our National Guard primarily. You know, from the standpoint of the reimbursement to ourselves for expenses, you know, this is going to be a big number, and it will actually impact our surplus of the year, you know, from a standpoint of cash surpluses and additional surpluses, and that is a big number to keep our state really, really super healthy. From a standpoint of workforce, we've been through it we've been through this so many times, you know, it's almost, you know, just branded on my hand. But nevertheless, you know, what we've done here is basically one thing. We have insured our businesses against absolute increases, you know, from the standpoint of their unemployment, and it could have increased off the chart. We've covered that, and we've covered it really well. From the standpoint of our testing and our PPE, you know, we've run across the finish line with that. It cost us $74 million. It cost major big money. We were able under workforce to give our hardworking people that were laid off that extra $100 a week. It cost us $38 million, but we were able to do it and pull it all together. And you know, Dave mentioned, you know, some smaller odds and ends. We've been holding these back and just trying to decide if we had enough money. And I could go through just real quick. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm just going to go through a couple. We are going to give our 4 largest convention centers across our state that $500,000 that they have requested. That's going to Beckley, Charleston, Huntington, and Wheeling. You'll be hearing about that real soon, you know, but we are also going to do a project that will absolutely, you know, it will help us from the standpoint of all of our 911 network and everything, and it's ready to go. It's in Hancock County, you know, a county that desperately needs this. That's $2.73 million. We can only do right now, there's to be able to get additional disabled individuals off the wait list so they can stay at home. You know, there's an independent living council. You know, they've requested $1.45 million, $1,450,000. We can only do $350,000 at this time because under the guidelines, that's all that you can expense at this time. But we're hopeful that if we get an extension, we'll be able to cover the entire $1,450,000. And from the last thing, you know, just on the smaller things, CAMC has requested to us over and over, you know, from the standpoint of through different senators, you know, Senator DeB Nelson and Senator Katubo, you know, we've talked a lot about this. They've requested a mobile unit that can travel, especially down into southern West Virginia, where people, you know, don't have access and all this, and you know, it can do lots and lots of testing from the standpoint of COVID and all that, granted, but it can do things in years to come, you know, blood testing and a lot of different things, just to make us better and make us more well. We're going to do that. That's $800,000, and so all that's great stuff, and we've still got a little cushion that we're still watching and we're still holding back, and the reason for that is just one thing and one thing just alone, and that's just this. All eyes are on the stimulus package that's going on in D.C. You can't imagine how much we're watching just that. It's not been passed yet, and we really don't know exactly what's in it. But when it passes, what if, just what if there weren't money there to do real testing in the first quarter of the year, in January, February, March maybe? What if there were things that we needed to really be sure that we could cover? What if there is an extension that we've absolutely been assured wholeheartedly that they're going to extend that December 30th date? Really, we've been told they're going to extend it for a year. But with all that being said, to have that little cushion, smart money, just smart money. You know, again, Mr. Secretary and all your staff and all those that have watched this and really worked their tail off and over, I thank you. It's a job well done, to say the very least. So way to go, and Brad, I hope that answers all your questions. And I know there's got to be something that somebody's going to ask along the way, but I hope that clarifies everything. And at the end of the day, I've told you over and over and over, if we had this, I'm a business guy, and we were going to run across the finish line with exactly the way we should. And so it's good stuff. Great days in West Virginia, but great days when we've had lots and lots and lots of tough ones. So that's all I got right now.
All right, thank you, Governor. Let's now go to Major General Hoyer with the West Virginia National Guard.
Good afternoon. As the governor pointed out earlier, we have an aggressive distribution plan for next week. We will be engaged from the 5 hubs with 160 long-term care and assisted living facilities with the final approval for Moderna, and assuming that those doses come on Monday as initially planned, we will be pretty aggressive throughout next week to get that done. We've also added 50 additional pharmacies to our inventory of pharmacies who are helping us across the state. We appreciate all the pharmacies who've signed up and encourage many more to do the same so that they can help us with this distribution process for the long term. As Governor has mentioned a couple of times, and and Dr. Marsh have mentioned before, I hope folks will continue to understand that our plan and our phases are not strictly sequential, but simultaneous in nature. Where the opportunities presents itself with the vaccines available, as had been pointed out in a couple of instances here, we will work across those phases simultaneously with a focus that the governor's given us on those over age 50 and particularly those over age 65 and greater, so that we can do 2 things at once: maintain our state and being open, and at the same time get that most vulnerable population. We have over 100 National Guardsmen just focused right now with DHHR and our other agency support team personnel on the vaccine distribution. Last thing I would leave you with is the governor's talked on numerous occasions about John Wooden, and as a coach talking about be quick but don't hurry. And you've heard me talk about the term deliberate speed. The other thing I think the governor would tell you from a coaching standpoint is this is a 4-quarter game. We're in the first part of the first quarter as far as vaccine distribution. We're going to be in this for the long haul. People are going to need to be patient with us, and we're going to have to pace ourselves to make sure that we don't expend too much energy in the very beginning. We've got to be able to play hard in all 4 quarters to get the people of West Virginia taken care of. Thank you.
All right, thank you, General. Next to Dr. Clay Marsh, our coronavirus czar.
Well, good afternoon, and first of all, I want to recognize the governor for his leadership, and certainly General Hoyer and retired Colonel Joe Peel for their leadership in helping with our vaccine distribution. I think it's really such a wonderful story to see Pat John, who is a rock star, by the way, and Michael Hicks, and certainly one of my favorites, Dr. Carl Schrader, who's just terrific. Because at the end of the day, Sundale was one of the first outbreak places that we had. And now to see that it's one of the nursing homes that has started to vaccinate all of its residents and to get to its staff. And I want to reinforce what Pat John said, and to note that Vice President Pence and his wife and Surgeon General Adams all got vaccinated today, just like you saw our leadership team do. Because the key is, as we go forward, the vaccine distribution is really an essential part of our future. But being vaccinated, putting that vaccine in people's arms, and having people like Pat John be spokespeople and remind us how important it is to take care of each other to get vaccinated. And also like former Governor Christie said in that really wonderful advertisement that the governor played, that it is so critical right now that we wear our masks and protect ourselves, because although we've talked a lot about these dark days coming up of the winter where COVID is spreading faster than it has before, where more Americans and more West Virginians have been hospitalized and diagnosed with COVID, I think that we see that there is a very bright light at the end of the tunnel. We know that not only is the Pfizer vaccine being pushed and moved quickly to those most vulnerable West Virginians to meet the governor's instructions of maintaining vital capacities in healthcare and in our community and state sectors, but also save lives. But also as we look at seeing that we will be the first state, I believe, to complete the mission of immunizing our nursing home residents. And now we are right at the precipice of having a second vaccine that is emergency use authorization approved, which is the Moderna vaccine. And remember, the Moderna vaccine and the Pfizer vaccine are very, very similar. They really work the same. The Moderna vaccine has tested over 30,000 people in their clinical study. This vaccine has been also shown to be effective in older people and people with different racial backgrounds. And nobody died of COVID-19 who got the immunization from Moderna. And in fact, just like the Pfizer vaccine, the Moderna vaccine is 95% effective in reducing the infection with COVID-19. And in the Moderna vaccine trial, I don't think anybody got severely ill either. So who got the vaccine? So ultimately, these are safe vaccines. You know, people have worried a bit because they've moved quickly, but I think this is really a testament to the ingenuity and the capability of America and our worldwide partners, because the Pfizer vaccine was really developed in Germany, and the Moderna vaccine was developed in Boston. So ultimately, we're able to come together as a team. And I think that's what you're seeing here in West Virginia. This is really the product, as the governor said, of everybody pulling the rope in the same direction. Because when we help each other, when we collaborate, when we serve, when we care for each other and love each other and help move things forward, then really, really good things happen. So as you guys know, all of us on the call from the leadership pandemic team have taken the vaccine. I have no symptoms, no pain, nothing at this point. Ultimately, we know these vaccines are safe. You absolutely cannot get the virus from the vaccine. The vaccines don't cause sterility. All people, except for people who have specific allergic reactions to components of the vaccine, or people that are actively ill with COVID-19 and who are isolated, really are candidates for this vaccine. And so just like Pat John, listen to her words of wisdom, and please, when it's your time, get vaccinated, and listen to Christie's words of wisdom. Even after you're vaccinated, be really, really careful in this upcoming holiday season. Wear your mask, stay distant, be careful about having meetings, crowds, gatherings where you basically can spread the virus with your mask off. So thank you, West Virginia.
Thank you, Dr. Marsh. Next to Bill Crouch, Secretary of the West Virginia DHHR.
Good afternoon, everyone. I will echo what Clay said. Had the vaccine when the governor did, and Clay and Dr. Amjad, and I feel great. Please, everyone, take the vaccine, please. But as I want to talk a minute as we move into the holiday season. We're in the middle of a pandemic, but I want to remind everyone we're also in the middle of an epidemic. We still have a substance use disorder epidemic in the state. And I want to make sure and remind folks that we have some great resources within DHHR and outside of DHHR. We're going to put some numbers up here for folks. This is a time when people can get very stressed and can get very overwhelmed. Help 304 is West Virginia's emotional strength line. Crisis counselors are available for stress management and referrals on this line. We also have a line called Help4WV. That is for substance use disorder and behavioral health issues. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, help is always available on that line. And we have the Children's Crisis and Referral Line is available for families and youth to talk with crisis specialists and help de-escalate a crisis. Many people will be spending the holidays alone this year. This will be a different holiday season for many. We need to protect each other and we need to help each other whenever possible. Stay in touch with family, even if you can't see them. Check on your friends, make sure they are safe. And next Christmas, we'll have a great deal to celebrate together. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Secretary. Dr. Ayn Amjad, our State Health Officer, is also joining us today and is available for questions. We'll now go to questions from members of the media. The first today from Brad McElhenney with West Virginia Metro News.
Hi, Governor. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having Secretary Hardy on today to give some more details about where West Virginia stands as it approaches the spending deadline on the CARES money that has already been drawn down. I'd like to hone in a little bit on the decisions West Virginia still has to make as it comes closer to that deadline, and as Congress may pass a new version of federal relief this weekend, may include an extension. But between those two goalposts, what does West Virginia still have to decide? It sounds like there was still money out there in a zero interest loan for unemployment insurance. Sounds like the state may have a whole bunch of invoices still coming in for state expenses. Talking in sports terms that the governor sometimes uses, West Virginia sounds like could run an option play in spending that money or holding tight, depending on whether the deadline is really coming up December 30th. What guidance generally can you provide? Thank you.
Well, Brad, let me make a shot at it. There's so many things. I mean, this is so fluid, and there's so many things that are out there. We really don't have the language of the stimulus package if there's going to be a stimulus package. We really don't know what's going to happen to our businesses, and we desperately have businesses such as our restaurants that are really, really hurting. We don't really know if they're going to extend this deadline or not. We don't really know what is exactly going to happen to all the testing. We think we know. I think, surely to God above, that the testing is going to be covered by our federal government, and that's going to be in the stimulus package. But I surely thought that there would be some level of dollars that would be set aside for the states and the counties. And now, from what we're maybe hearing, there's maybe not going to be those dollars set aside at this time for the states and the counties. There are so many aspects of what if. I think that we'll go into December 30 in the state of West Virginia with our total COVID dollars, with the interest we've earned on those dollars, of probably $1,252 point something million. So we've really earned a little in excess of $2.5 million, or right there at it, on just interest on those dollars. But with all being said, I think we'll start with $1,252,000, and I think we'll end up with a cushion of somewhere in the high 20s. And I think that is just prudent, and I do believe there will be an extension of the time. And but we've got to think about when the clock strikes December 30 at midnight, it doesn't mean that our counties and our cities are instantaneously all well and they're okay. Or it doesn't mean that we've got a lot of people that are still waiting to get a test that are going to get a test. There's lots and lots and lots of things to consider. So we're trying with all in us to play by the guidelines, but yet really watch out for our people. You've trusted us thus far, and we've got you to a really comfortable position economically right now. We'll get us there.
All right, thanks, Brad. Next to Steve Adams with Ogden Newspapers.
Yeah, Steve Adams of Ogden Newspapers here. I have three quick questions, but they're all vaccine related. And the first one's probably for General Hoyer and just getting, when did we find out that we were having our allotment cut back, and if there were any reasons why, what were those reasons? Also, and I'd seen this the other day in regards to the vaccine vials themselves. I saw where the FDA gave approval because some pharmacies are discovering that even though the vials, I believe, contain 5 doses each, sometimes they're getting as much as 6 or even 7 doses out of a single vial. And I think the FDA gave approval to be able to use those extra doses versus throwing out the vials. So I didn't know if any of our health experts wanted to weigh in on that, and if we are kind of seeing the same thing and doing that as well. Thank you.
Okay, Stephen, let me try, just for the sake of, we covered so much information today, and not to hurry along, but we don't want our people just sitting there a long time. But from the standpoint, General Hoyer notified me last night, called me last night, with Brian Abraham, and we went over, we discussed the reduction in the vaccine doses and everything. I think the bottom line is, there was some disruption in their distribution or whatever it may be, and all the states were supposedly cut and cut proportionately. I guess that's the answer to that question. And from the standpoint of 6 or 7 doses, we've been all over this. From the doses in the vial, and Dr. Marsh called me. I think it was night before last, and said, we do have the ability, maybe it was the night before that, but we do have the ability, in most instances, we can get 6 of these doses from the same vial, and instead of 5. And I said to him, my exact words were, now, Doc, are we going to have any problem by having using 6 doses when they're saying we were supposed to use just 5? Because I would rather have 5 good ones than 6 that would be a little short. And he said to me, Governor, one thing you can count on for sure, if we put that needle in somebody's arm, absolutely without doubt, it will be 100% total exactly right. And so we're doing that, and we're trying to stretch that out. It's given us some extra doses, and that's really good.
All right, thank you, Stephen. Let's go next to Paul Mullen with WCBC.
Good afternoon, Governor. Good afternoon, panel. Governor, yesterday, while you were not having a press conference, Maryland Governor Larry Hogan was having a press conference, and he announced some additional measures that stopped short of shutting anything down. He did not live up to his nickname of Lockdown Larry. But one of the things that he said was that anyone leaving Maryland and coming back, or anyone coming into Maryland, should have a negative COVID test before they do so. And if they don't have that, they should have a 10-day quarantine period. Are you considering anything like that as we move into the Christmas season?
Well, Paul, I would say somewhat lightheartedly, all these people, I said this to the vice president on the vice president call with all the governors the other day, because Dr. Birx was here, and Dr. Birx, teed up the vice president to call upon me to tell all the different things that are going on in West Virginia. And I would say this to Larry, I would say this to all the governors. If you'll step back and you'll watch what has happened with these great experts that have advised me as to what to do within this state, they've done a hell of a job. That's all there is to it. And these other governors could learn one hell of a lot by watching what we've done in West Virginia. Now, with all that being said, as far as as putting a 14-day quarantine on people that are coming across our borders. I mean, they're coming across our borders from everywhere coming or going. And there's no oceans, there's no giant rivers, there's no bays, there's no nothing stopping them. They're coming in every direction all the time. We're absolutely keeping everything on the table. Everything is absolutely at play all the time. We may very well have to change and do this or that and everything, but I'm telling you, and you can mark it down, these people that I've surrounded myself with are flat superstars. And so we're going to stay on top of it. And I'm not hesitant in any way to shut something down or to quarantine people for 14 days or coming or going or whatever. I'm not adverse to anything if we think and we know it's going to make a difference. We know the masks are making a difference. We know the vaccine's making a difference. And that's what we've got to do right now. Just arbitrarily shutting down something so you can look good and be a politician, no, that's not me. I'm not going to do that.
All right, thanks, Paul. Next to Mark Curtis with Next Star Media.
Good afternoon, Governor and cabinet members. I want to drill down on this congressional bill a little bit, Governor, that you talked about. You're correct. As of now, there is no money in it for state and local governments. I believe the figure Dave Hardy used was $266 million has been reimbursed in West Virginia to state and local governments. So if Congress isn't going to provide that money, where are you going to come up with $266 million as we go into 2021? Is it the rainy day fund, the surpluses, and are you going to have to call the legislature into special session before their regular session in February?
Well, Mark, first of all, I think you're misreading this, okay? From the standpoint of the allocation of dollars to the states and the cities, that's really for revenue replacement primarily. That's what they're really balking on in every way. From the standpoint of dollars that will flow into your state, whether it may be testing, no matter what, there will still be real dollars that will be coming. But Mark, the biggest thing is just this, and here's the whole thing we should focus on, and to answer the balance of your question, if at some point in time we've got to have special sessions, we've got to look at rainy day, whatever we've got to look at, we look at it. That's what we got to do, But really and truly, where you are right now, Mark, and where you are, West Virginia, right now, think about it. We've had 5 consecutive months, surplus, 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 and I look for December to be the 6th month in a row surplus. We ended last year with this pandemic like nobody's business, cannonball to the stomach, and moved our income tax money into 2021 surplus. We've got a cash surplus at the end of November of $325 million in West Virginia. We're absolutely growing that surplus, and now if we pay ourselves back for expenses that we have already incurred in the second deep dive, we'll add to that surplus even more. And that surplus will probably exceed $500 million. Now, Mark, there's lots and lots and lots of places to be able to position West Virginia, because West Virginia is killing it. West Virginia is economically absolutely a poster child. That's all there is to it. Now, with that being said, though, Mark, I would say to you just this. Washington has got to get off of their butt and do what is right for the people of this country. When it boils right down to it, it is a crying, pitiful, pitiful shame that here we are again at the 11th hour on December the 18th with people scared and worried. How are they going to get their unemployment checks? What is going to happen to me? What is going to happen to that restaurant? What is going to happen to me? I'm a business owner. I'm an unemployed person. What is going to happen to me? What in the world is wrong with a bunch of politicians in D.C. that honest to goodness, you know, what we should do, if we could, is just say, hit the clear button and get somebody there that can make decisions. Decisions have to be made. People are really, really hurting. And yet what we continue to do, like it or not like it, but it's a God's flat truth. We make decisions in D.C. constantly on who can one-up each other from a political standpoint. We don't make decisions in D.C. that are going to help Americans. We're making D.C. to see who can one-up the next one and have the next big party. You know, it just makes me sick, to tell you the truth.
All right, thank you, Mark. Next, we'll go to David Beard with the Dominion Post.
Hi. We say every day at one of these briefings that the vaccine will require 2 doses, and that it could be, I can see my nose there, that it be require could take through July to basically unfold the whole program. And so for whatever social media is worth, I get a sense sometimes that not everybody grasps either of those things. So I wonder what's going on outside the briefings to kind of educate the community and overcome some of that ignorance and maybe some impatience. For example, is the medical community doing anything to contact all its patients and give them a sense of what's ahead for them? Thanks.
Well, David, let me just try to answer it. And just from the standpoint of time, David, from Washington's standpoint, you know, they put off and they say, well, let's start doing something at the nursing homes on the 28th of December, and we're going to project, we're going to have it done who knows when. Or let's do this, and we'll work on getting the public vaccinated and everything. We'll hopefully have it done by the end of the summer and before we enter the last quarter of the year. You know, David, y'all forgive me because it drives me crazy the way a lot of these politicians operate. Honest to God, it's a fact. You know, it takes them 3 weeks to figure out when they're going to have a bowel movement, you know, and it just drives me crazy. But nevertheless, I think that we in West Virginia are going to move, and we're moving at light speed compared to them. We have over and over, and I truly believe that our federal government, by the time we get to mid-March, we will really be on our way with this vaccination if people step up and they take the vaccine, and we can absolutely get it out to our people.
All right, thank you, Mark. Next, we'll go to, thank you, David. Next, we'll go to Charles Young with WV News.
Hi, this is Charles Young with WV News. My question is for Dr. Amjad. I was wondering if you could give us an update on our contact tracing efforts. Are we still experiencing the sort of resistance and unwillingness to share information that you talked about previously? Thank you.
Charles, what information are you talking about? First of all, Dr. Amjad, do you know what he's talking about?
Yes, Governor, do you want me to go ahead?
Sure, please.
Sure, Charles. We're seeing about the same efforts. We want people to still answer their phones, but our EPI team has not reported any changes to that. But we want people to be reminded that if our contact tracing team does call them, but we haven't gotten any different reports than we reported earlier. So we do want to remind people that if the contact tracing team does call you to report, to our EPI teams out there. But also, we want to remind people that if you know someone that is positive with COVID-19, to go ahead and seek testing in your communities out there. You don't need to wait to be contacted by your health departments, but we haven't seen any changes that we reported out earlier, Charles. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Charles. Next to Dave Mistich with West Virginia Public Broadcasting.
Hey, Governor. Hey, panel. Dave Mistich, West Virginia Public Broadcasting. My question, and you'll have to excuse me if I missed something earlier. I want to jump back to a question that Stephen Allen Adams asked a little bit ago about the possibility of our allocation dropping. I've seen a lot of reporting around that, and there seems to be some confusion as to whether or not that's happening in states. And again, you'll have to excuse me if I missed that. Has that happened here in West Virginia? And if so, by how much? And when did we learn about all this?
General Hoyer, that's you, sir.
Yes, sir, Governor. So our allocation of Pfizer vaccines We were notified last night. I notified the governor late yesterday evening. We had a discussion that we have been informed our Pfizer doses will be reduced this coming week. There's various things going on related to what the issue is behind that. We'll find out, I'm sure, later related to that. The good news is, based on the fact that the governor had directed us to stand up the Joint Interagency Task Force, and based on planning and the approval of the Moderna vaccine, our efforts to vaccinate our nursing home residents and staff and our critical workforce in our hospital system to maintain the integrity of that system. Our plan allowed for a contingency that will allow us to continue to conduct that operation next week. Our changes will come as the phases move out later on, and we will hope that the following week our Pfizer numbers will go back up. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dave. Next to Jade Burks with WVVA.
Hey everybody, it's Jade Burks with WVVA. So Senator Manchin sent out a press release yesterday seemingly calling out the VA for not including veterans in its initial plan for distribution of the vaccine. I was just wondering if you all were aware of this and if you plan to do anything to maybe make that vaccine available to veterans sooner. Thanks.
Okay, I mean, my general counsel, Brian Abraham, Brian, you want to step up here and.
That's the VA plan to vaccinate through the VA.
Well, my general counsel is telling me that that's the federal plan to vaccinate through the VA. Is that correct? And I would be 100% supportive of that.
All right, thanks, Jade. Last question today from Junaid Dill with the AP.
Hi there. Yeah, Junaid Dill from AP. I'm wondering, are there any challenges to persuading residents and staff to get vaccinated at nursing homes? I think the trouble was mostly with staff. And do we know how many healthcare workers have received doses so far? Thanks, Governor.
I think, General Hoyer, we can go back to you, but if I can just inject this, I think as far as the staff, as far as the residents, we're getting a participation of 85 to 95%. As far as the staff, we're getting a participation of 60%. That isn't good enough, but as far as the residents, we're doing really good. But General, go ahead, sir.
No, Governor, you've got the numbers right on. 80 to 85% residents, 60% or just short of 65% of staff continuing to work those efforts. Of the total doses, we'll break down what is going to hospital work staff and get that out.
All right, thank you. Governor, I'll turn it back to you.
Well, let me say the last question in regard to concerns about, folks maybe not wanting to take the vaccine. For crying out loud, there's all kinds of potentials and all kinds of concerns. I'm very respectful to someone that would say, no, I really don't want to take the vaccine. And in being respectful, though, I would say this. The why is always just this. The dark of the closet is always a little spooky and a little bit concerning. On the other hand, it is just as simple as just this, is what's the likelihood if you don't take the vaccine? What's the likelihood of possibly you ending up with COVID? Or maybe someone that's very, very close to you and very dear. What's the likelihood? Well, the likelihood of you having some adverse problem from a vaccine that our FDA has already tested tens and tens of thousands of people and is going out all across this country by the millions and millions and millions of doses right as we speak. The likelihood of you having a serious problem by taking the vaccine is surely very minimal, very, very minimal compared to the likelihood of you getting COVID and in the likelihood of you having a really bad outcome. So it's going to take education. We all need to be respectful of people's views and opinions, and we're going to try to be that. But it really, really, really is going to take urging and encouragement and education and all that to make more and more and more of us comfortable. You know, I really don't have anything else today. We covered lots and lots and lots of stuff. You know, I hope we've answered the questions adequately and you know, maybe laid you know, aside a bunch of concerns. But at the end of the day, this is tough stuff, and everybody's doing a great job. That you know, I've been fortunate, blessed beyond belief, to surround myself, like I said, with some real experts that have been absolutely just terrific. So thank you to all of them, and thank you first and foremost to you, West Virginia. You know, I just say it over and over. Just think about just this. You know, you're on the morning news, you're on this, you're on that and everything. Why? Why is it? Because others can't figure out how to chew gum and go up the stairs at the same time. And West Virginia, poor little West Virginia, that a lot of people look down their nose at forever and a day, West Virginia figures a way to do it and get it done. I've believed it with all in me. I'm here because of you, West Virginia. I love you with all my soul. You just keep doing what you're doing. You're the greatest of the greatest. And I thank all the people that are working really hard around me, but I really thank West Virginians. I love you and I thank you.